I welcome you all. My name is Purabi Mitra. I'm a part of the Wadhwani Foundation team. I work with Wadhwani Center for Government Digital Transformation in the capacity of a director who leads the learning and content design. Wadhwani Center for Government Digital Transformation essentially works with the government officers and government departments to help them embrace emerging technologies that will help towards digital transformation. So I'm very excited. Anything to do with confidence, communication, learning and development, human resource development has been very close to my heart. And when Shrang asked me if I'll be interested in doing this session, I blindly said right away, yes, I will. No matter how much of a skilled abled and capable professional you have at your service, nobody can help you if you don't help yourselves. So there is no, magic formula that is going to help you suddenly after a session that will make you confident. It's not like your 2-minute Maggie tastemaker. That tastemaker combination is different for each one of us. And we all need to develop this from day one. So you would have heard something like one day or day one. So consider this session as day one. Start today. Start yesterday, So what does it look like? What does the session look like? So of course, we will start by, introducing why we've chosen this topic. Shrang has in the beginning itself shared that they did a survey and they realized that one of the most popular areas that a lot of students struggle with is that how should we crack those interviews? Before we even come to the formula of how it works, let's first analyze why we fail. How we fail rather. And then we look at, is there some sort of a philosophy? Is there some sort of a real mechanism that is going to help us become better, prepare better, and excel? We are also going to deep dive into the philosophy to understand in clear action points that what can I take from this session and apply right away, right? So that is something that I'm going to be accountable to do. I will ensure that as a speaker today, I at least leave you with at least one thought that will lead to action. So let's get started. All right? Okay. So what does the session look like? Well, as I said, when it comes to an opportunity of applying for interviews, whether it is in discussions, meetings, or let's say if you're giving a speech, or let's say there is a monologue, you're talking to someone formally, informally, is there a way you can communicate with persuasion and impact? And how do we do that is through these very objectives. We are going to deep dive into understanding what is it that makes someone persuasive. You meet somebody and you realize that, I really like what this person is saying and I want to do what this person is saying. What is that? Is that a technique? Is that a talent? We'll discover that. We'll also look at how in your interviews especially, can you be seen as credible? When we say credible, think in terms of you being the best person for that role, you being selected as the perfect fitment for that role. So how do you prove your credibility? We will also talk about, is there a way you can engage your audience, even if it is an interview? Can you make it less formal and comfortable as an interaction? Is there a way you can, genuinely come across as an authentic person and not have those facades and masks? We will see if there is a technique to that. And last but not the least, the most important aspect of all is how logical can you be in your conversations? Everybody today is looking for value. Everybody wants things done fast. They want things done better, and all stakeholders want things done at a cheaper cost. So how can we drive value with evidence, with logic, with ability to, structure your conversation so that people know that it is for real? So these are the objectives. Good. Aristotle is known for a lot of things actually. He is a Greek philosopher, an ancient Greek philosopher. He was born in the 350s something BC. He was a student of Plato, and he's known to have proven success in various fields, whether it is science, whether it is psychology, whether it is to do with, I'd say, communication. He's a known philosopher in that sense. And interestingly, Aristotle came up with something called a triad. And some of you would have heard about this. This triad is known as Aristotle's ethos, pathos, and logos. Now, don't worry, we are not going to teach you Greek today, but we will tell you, does this triad really work? Does it make sense? Can we actually apply it? Will it help us become confident? That's what we'll see. And all he recommended was that if any person is able to use this triad in their communication, where they want to be seen as someone serious, someone credible, someone dependable, these three concepts help you become that person. So let's take a look at this diagram before we deep dive. Okay, and I promise you, we'll not make it a Gyan Pelo session. We will not make this a theoretical session. So if you notice in this particular triad, if we look at the ethos section, it says that if somebody wants to demonstrate ethos, what does it mean? So let's break it down in two parts. Number one is ethos in conversations or ethos in communication reflects about you, the individual, the person, the character. When you walk into the room, what is that first thing that people see about you, feel about you? That is ethos. That is what Aristotle is saying should get, conveyed in the way you communicate and the way you hold yourself. That is, again, extremely important during interviews. Think about it. If it is an in-person interview or a virtual interview, from the moment you step into the reception area, or from the moment you switch on your camera for your virtual interview, and when they see you, that's exactly from that moment the perception starts building. That's how important it is. So the idea is, if we want to apply having a strong ethos, it should reflect in the way we behave, the way we talk, the way we non-verbally communicate, what we say, how we say, and why we say. Something that Shrang mentioned, it is not only always about what, it's also about how you say. Absolutely right. There are 4 things that help you reflect ethos. What you say, why you're saying it, how you say, and more importantly, at the end of this, the most important point is when you say it. Everything doesn't have to be conveyed at the very, same moment. You have to choose your timing to show your worth. Hence, things like your knowledge, your experience, your overall verbal, non-verbal communication, your credentials, your endorsements, references, people who have vouched for you, and of course, your overall moral character. These things together encompass the ethos, right? And let me tell you, we all have very strong ethos. The challenge is we don't demonstrate it enough. We will show you how to demonstrate it. Okay? Moving on, the pathos. Pathos is about how you can have an effortless connection with the other person. We all must have heard about these terms called IQ, EQ. So what is it? Emotional quotient. And from emotional quotient, you would have heard another very, very commonly used term called emotional intelligence, right? So here, pay attention to the term emotional intelligence. When you're having a conversation with someone who's taking an interview, please understand, you may be fresh, you may be applying for a new job, you may not have experience, or you may have had internship experience. Does that mean that you become smaller and the other person taking the interview becomes bigger? No. It's an equal footing. They need you as much as we need the job. So it's an equal partnership. How do we have a sensible, professional communication and a relationship built in that situation where we come across as someone who is genuine, authentic, and comfortable? Can we connect with that person? Can we emotionally also, have a certain connection without being too personal? Please understand the difference. So pathos focuses on how you can win your audience, how you can influence our audience. Psychology says that if you like someone, whether, and think about it, there are so many podcasts that happen. I'm sure you have role models. There are film stars that you may like. There are other public figures that you may like. Think about it. It says, psychology studies say that if you like someone, chances are that you will agree to what they say. So the point here is, you cannot be likable if we are faking it. We have to be original. We have to be authentic. So the idea is, being yourself is thoroughly, critically important at the core of any interview, especially an interview, right? Because you have a very limited window. In that limited window, you are assessing कि ये नौकरी कैसा है? How is this job? Will I like it here? Will they pay me enough? Am I doing well in the interview? Similarly, even the interviewer is thinking, what sort of a person is she or is he? What sort of a work ethic does this person have? Will this person be amateur and immature because they are joining their first job? Will this person be a good fitment as per our culture? So what are they doing? They're all assessing. The recommendation here is, let your 3 V's do the talking. And make a note if you have to. One of the best ways you can establish a strong emotional intelligence and connect with your audience is by communicating through these 3 V's. These 3 V's are, number 1, visual. How visual are you? If you're talking about a positive news, are you looking positive? I had this great opportunity where I had to work with some of the seniors in my last internship. Now, if I talk about something positive, but my expression doesn't match with what I'm saying, imagine the impact that it, and the message that will go to the interviewer. So your visuals play a very important role. When I say visuals, think about body language, your expressions, your gestures, your energy levels, etc. How enthusiastic you are. The second V is your vocals. Practice. If you have a voice, if you are into public speaking, great. Make sure you adjust your voice levels as per the requirement of the call and the room. And for those of us who are not into public speaking, practice, sing. Music does really help you, exercise your vocal cords. So you've got to stress at the right part of your message to drive the message. I had a great time versus I had a great time. Doesn't have the same impact. So you've got to mean what you say by emphasizing at the right place, pausing at the right place, and of course, saying it clearly and loudly. The third V, of course, is verbal. A lot of times we pay attention only to the verbal piece. Verbal is mostly the written part. For example, a lot of us, especially in Asian countries, if I may use that as an example, a lot of us are very strong in our written communication because the education system focuses on written communication, or at least it used to. The idea is your written communication, if it is strong, your vocal communication needs to be stronger. So what I'm trying to say is, make sure that when you're talking, it matches your verbal ability, right? So that's your pathos. The third part is logos. Logos is why people are, paying money for a service. Think about it. You have, people who are decision makers in an organization. You have CEOs, you have people who are COOs. And of course, under them, there are various hierarchical leaders and managers. At the end of the day, if somebody is, let's say, hired for a job, or if they as an organization are selling a product or a service, right? What is it that the customer will actually see, experience, and then pay for that service or product? It's the logos part. At the end of the day, it's not just, I'm going to use this term in Hindi, jo dikhta hai wo bikta hai. That's not the only case. At the end of the day, people want value. And that value can be addressed in your speech, in your answer during an interview through facts, evidence, validate everything that you're saying, right? How this works is, we will in a moment literally dissect each one of these and we'll see how do I apply this. Ethos, pathos, logos, we've understood. But then how do you apply? How do you have this in an interview? When I answer a certain question, how will I know which is ethos, which is pathos? You don't have to know. You just need to figure out what components of your answer reflect ethos, pathos, logos. Sounds good so far? Give me a thumbs up if you are with me, or if you are lost, we can take a few questions if you have any. Okay. I like the stream of thumbs ups coming up on the screen. Nice. Great. Okay, so let's take a look at ethos first, okay? And I promise you, I'm going to do less of the talking. You guys will have to do a little bit of interaction with me here. So what does it include? Like I said a while ago, ethos focuses about your personal side, the real person that you are. One tip I would like to give. A lot of people, because being nervous is a very human thing. I would say it's not a completely bad sign. If you're a little anxious, or if you have sweaty palms before an interview, I think it's a good sign. I think it says that you're not overconfident. But at the same time, what I will also say, Hindi में बोलते हैं ना, अपने को हल्के में मत लेना कभी. Have a strong self-belief is what I mean. Never have self-doubt. If you have done your due diligence in terms of preparing for something like an interview, if you really want to give your level best, you will not have self-doubt. But if you continuously keep asking, am I good enough? Will they like me? Then it will automatically start breeding a complete hostile environment of self-doubt. Don't have self-doubt. Talk to people. Talk to yourself looking at the mirror and say, I'm good. I'm really good. I'm the boss. Because that helps you channelize that nervous energy. So when I say credibility, one of the things that really doesn't work is that people put on masks. People have this tendency of being somebody totally different in an interview versus the actual person that they are. And that is something that I want to really emphasize on. Don't have two faces. It doesn't work. It won't work for long if it does work in the beginning. I know we have heard fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it is okay if you are trying a concept, if you're practicing a concept, it's okay. But the real person is what helps you connect with someone, helps you build a relationship, helps you have the rapport, and instantly creates a sense of likability. So what I want to say is be genuine, be authentic. Jaise ho, वैसे रहो. Don't be somebody else that you're not. It makes you so uncomfortable, So, for example, if I have to share an example, I am usually a very extroverted person. And if I'm suddenly told that, Purabi, you will not emote and you will speak with a straight face, I will physically start feeling uncomfortable. You can already tell. I cannot do it. I have to get into the element of being, the expressive person that I am, because that's how strongly I believe in what I'm saying. That is what you need to do. Another tip that I want to give you before I show you an example. A lot of us have this hesitation, what if I'm not able to convey in English properly? Doesn't matter. Tell them in advance that I would like to, have this interview in both languages, if that's okay with you, to express myself clearly. If you take permission and say that, is it okay if I speak bilingually using English and another language, Hindi or whatever the other language is that acceptable? At least you are asking for permission. Something like language should not be something that you should get pinned down for. And jitna aap apna authenticity maintain karoge, like I'm saying this in Hindi, utna zyada hit hoga tumhara interview. So it's important for any of us who doesn't understand Hindi, I'll just repeat, it's important to, share who you are. And the more you do things like, can I be bilingual in this interview, if that's all right with you? It basically is just reflecting on your strong character. Don't hesitate. If you hesitate, people will judge. And let's face it, people judge. Leave it. It's not important. I heard this very nice quote before I share the example. This is what happens. I get carried away. I was watching this show and the anchor of the show said, what anybody thinks about me is not my business. So that's the best way of being positive. It doesn't matter what people judge, right? It's what matters is what you believe in and what you show. So here's an example of how credibility, authority, strong character, moral standing, trustworthiness is reflected in this particular response. Take about 15 seconds to read this. I'll read this out aloud as well for all of us. So the example says, I've spent the last 2 semesters serving as the president of my university's marketing club. During this time, I organized 3 networking events and led a team of 12 members. Through this leadership experience, I've developed a strong project management and collaboration skills, which I believe position me well to excel in your organization. Okay, I'll wait for about 5 seconds. So now the question that we will participate is, what qualities can you identify about this person, about this answer, about this person from this answer? So when you hear or read this answer, what are the qualities that you can think about this person? Okay, clear and concise, leadership skills, awesome. So you think that the person clearly demonstrates leadership, confidence, guidance, I like that. Motivation, awesome, brilliant. Support. Look at the responses you are sharing. Now, all these responses that you see, the fact that you felt that this person comes across as confident, as someone who is open to learning, somebody who wants to talk about their experience, somebody who is a support, or somebody who is eager to help, is clear, concise. These are what makes that person's ethos stronger. Does that make more sense now? Super.
Problem solving ability, empathy.
Excellent. I like that. Empathy. Such a wonderful observation over there. So the fact that you all were able to gather these qualities about that person, that means this person's ethos was very strongly demonstrated in this answer. Okay. Now let's take a look at what pathos looks like. So the next part is pathos. Basically, like I said, aims to create a relationship with the audience, aims to give value to the audience. It also means that are we matching the emotional requirement? Are we matching our EQ with the audience, right? For example, if the conversation goes in a way where something sympathetic is being talked about, are you matching the same sympathetic emotion, excitement? And again, this focuses on the very clear balance between emotion and logic. Always remember, in an interview, and this is also something that has been misunderstood, there is a misconception that somebody who's very highly emotional will not be a great worker. That's not true. The challenge is that people think that somebody who's very emotional will be unfit to take decisions, they'll be unfit to, be a thorough professional. That is absolutely untrue. What is important as an insight that we must take away from this is, it is okay to be emotional, but it's important for us to know how much and when to control it. You know what I mean? It's important. So as a human being, let me give you my example. I'm a very heart person. I do often take decisions basis I do like processes. I am getting better at processes. I do have coaches to help me to become more process oriented. But at the end of the day, when I follow my gut, it is driven by the heart. You must have heard people say that at the end of the day, if you want to do something and if the world is saying otherwise, but if your heart is saying go for it, go for it. So, your gut is in a way connected to your heart. But it's important to know how much I need to balance my emotional quotient by being logical. And the more controlled we are, the more intentional we are, the stronger as human beings and the stronger as persons you will come across. So the key word to note here is having the control and being very intentional in the way you present yourself. So here is another response. Okay, it says, I've always been passionate about making a positive impact on people's lives. While volunteering at a local community center, I had the opportunity to coach and mentor young school students in helping them excel in academics. I witnessed firsthand how education and mentorship can spark confidence in young students. The experience inspired me to pursue this field, and I'm excited by the possibility of creating similar growth opportunities in your organization. What qualities can you identify about this person that tells us about their emotional intelligence? Focus on the words emotional intelligence. What do we mean by that? the balance between logic and emotions. The question is written right there. What qualities can you identify about this person from this response? Keep in mind, we are talking in terms of emotional intelligence. Okay, very interesting. Mature, I like that. Helping others. That's a very nice insight as well. Mentorship, awesome. Giving back, wonderful. Balanced, smart response. Okay, so I want to tell you, the larger the font, meaning more people have written that. So if a certain particular word is larger in font size as opposed to others, that means more people have written the same answer. Fabulous. So I see calm and balanced standing out completely. Being brave, brilliant, strong. Now imagine we have these kind of responses. So imagine if you're able to demonstrate this in an interview, how much of an impact your interviewer will have. Inspiring, somebody who's emotional, collaborative, passionate about teaching. Look at the words, they're so strong. Excellent. Okay, moving on. So now that we've got pathos also covered, let's look at the last one called logos. Now, logos, like the very word itself means, from Greek, it is more appealed to logic, relies on evidence, facts, statistics, reasoning. Now, this is something that you've got to have under your belt. What I mean by that is, let me give you an example, or let me share an example from one of the experiences that I had. In one of my previous organizations, I was working and I was the head for training and quality for a team of almost 42 trainers across the country. And the company was led by a woman, extremely amazing to work with. And she was the chairman and MD. And we used to have these connects with her. And she used to have this, this style or this thing that she expected from all her direct reportees. She used to say, if you have data, then you are my beta. If you don't have data, then don't even bother coming to my door. So for those of us who don't understand Hindi, what she used to say, that if you have data, then you're my kin. You're next to kin. I will entertain you. I will collaborate with you. But if you don't have data to back what you're saying, don't even bother coming at my door. And in that job, actually, I was, like they say, I got institutionalized to understand the importance of evidence. Mr. Dale Carnegie, who's a very renowned author for the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, he says that evidence defeats doubts, and that is so true. But we often are sometimes unaware that how do I present my message with evidence? So before I show you the response, there are some ways you can present your evidence. For example, I've written facts. Facts that are not backed by a source are not facts, are claims. You must have seen these advertisements, whether it is on your phone or whether it is on any social media or any OTT platforms that you would have seen, that we are the number one company in training. Says who? It is a claim until it is backed by a legitimate source. But if you see an advertisement that says, training authority of blah, blah, blah has certified us as the number one training company in the year 2024, then it becomes a fact. So what I would advise all of us is, when you're preparing for your interview, sit down with a pen and paper, write down your achievements, and against that, list down how will you make them factual. Hypothetically speaking, if somebody needs to back check that, ek source hona chahiye. There should be a source. So facts is one of the ways you can show evidence. Demonstrations. In certain job positions that we're applying for, maybe we need to demonstrate something. Have a demo ready. Have statistics ready. Have it backed by, studies and surveys if you have. It's not necessary that you only have to create the survey. You can also refer to a survey. The more you talk like that, the better you sound as a prepared person. Talk in terms of, let's say, sometimes in a conversation, to drive the sense of evidence, we need exhibits or, something like a model. So have an exhibit ready so that people can validate what you are saying. evidence is something that people can feel, touch, and it's tangible, right? So validate it if you need an exhibit for that. Or maybe you need something like a testimonial, references. If you don't have at least 3 to 4 people in your corner who are your, who I would say are your teachers, your mentors, your coaches, your, people who you look up to. If you don't have 4 references, then go home today, reach out to them in the rest of the week or in the coming week and ask for a reference, ask for a testimonial. That speaks volume about who you are, right? So let's take a look at the response. It says, in my previous internship, I increased the company's social media engagement by 40%. 40% over 3 months by implementing a data-driven content schedule. I led this initiative by involving my seniors, seeking their support, and by tapping into their social networking equity, we were able to promote brand awareness and brand recall. We tracked post-performance metrics weekly, identified the best performing topics and times to post and adjust accordingly. Those insights led to a measurable uptick in reach and follower growth. I'll give you 10 seconds to read this answer one more time before we move on to the poll. Read this answer keeping logic in mind, statistics, numbers, facts, analogies, data. This is the one. What qualities can you identify about this person that are logical in this response? Chime in with your answers. Data-driven. Interesting. I like the word strong governance. I like that you observed that, whoever wrote that. Thank you. Yes, there was a very strong governance. It was a very step-by-step process. Fabulous. Great leadership. Wonderful. Backed by data, number, targets. It's convincing. Yes. It is value of time within 3 months. That's exactly the point that we wanted to drive through that answer. Now, if these are the responses you have, what we need to keep in mind so far is that you've got to have your answers understood in terms of, anticipate what your audience is going to ask you, right? So now that we have clarity about what ethos, pathos, and logos together looks like when we are communicating, especially in an interview, let's take a step back. Since we all are here to become job ready and we all want to ace it, the idea is to understand what goes beforehand. Fine. So don't worry, we'll try and have this, given to you as a handout also for a ready techno. So what I wanted to share was, don't get disheartened if a certain interview doesn't go through. There is nobody on this face of earth when applying for a job or, applying interviews has made it in the first go. And if they've made it in the first go, it's not necessary that they have made it in the first go every time they are looking for a job. Okay. Understand one thing, there are a lot of dynamics and there are a lot of moving parts when an interview happens. It's not necessarily a requirement that it was a misfit. It did not fit, hence we rejected someone. That's not always the case. So what we need to keep in mind and make our self-belief strong is by first and foremost knowing, not feeling, knowing and, believing that you are good, you are the best version of yourself. And there are various moving parts when a particular interview doesn't go through. What are those moving parts? There can be budget constraints. There can be a position that can go on hold because the company has decided not to take a decision for hiring someone suddenly. There can be, a misfit in terms of, let's say, anything that is logistic. Geography could be a concern. Maybe they want somebody local. So there are a lot of times when people really like, a potential interviewee candidate, but there are other challenges that stop the interview to be successful. So remember one thing, with every passing interview, your experience should be, I like what I did here, but I think I can do better when I go for my next interview. The point that I'm making is take what you can that's going to add value for your interview. So starting with the first thing, and this is, I'm sure, something that will interest a lot of us. A lot of us must be doing this also. What are some of the things that we can do to prepare for interviews? We would have heard, if you if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So first and foremost, make sure that we are prepared for every interview. And we have to put effort. We can't just get things on our own. Remember the elevator story? No matter how great your coaches are, how great the mentors and teachers and facilitators are, you've got to take the step of getting off the elevator to do the homework and prepare. So whenever you have an interview lined up, take some time off, research, find out who is this company, what do they do, what are they known for, what kind of a role are you applying for, what will it mean if you join as a certain designation, what will the job entail. Don't be hesitant in asking when the interviewer or the HR is reaching out to you to plan for the interview. Don't hesitate to ask, can I have the job description? Can you explain to me what the job involves? What will I do if I get selected? What will the role be like? Don't hesitate to ask questions related to A, the role, B, the department, C, the company, and then of course the rest of the things that are piquing your interest. Pay and things like your flexibility of working, all of that is logistics. That's wo to baat ho gayi, that will happen. But the point is, what are some of the key motivations for you to want to work in that organization? Don't hesitate to ask. But remember, before you ask, you must have done research. I remember, this must have been about 12 years ago. For a very long part of my career, this is my 22nd year, I remember working almost 13-14 years outside my hometown. And when I came back for certain decisions, I came back home to my family, and I decided to make that as a base, which is currently Delhi. I received a call, and honestly, I did not know what that company is about. I had no clue. So this lady was like, have you heard about this company? And I said, honestly, no, I haven't. Then she said, why don't you do one thing? I'll call you in another 2 hours. Do you think you'll have time to go through our website to see who we are and what we do? I really thanked that lady. Of course, she became a very good friend because I was almost 7 years in that organization. I got selected. But I really thank her because she took the trouble of telling me, why don't you find out? It'll save time. So the first thing you got to do is research about the organization, know more about the role, talk to your HR in terms of who these, what this role is about, etc. The next thing is something that I've already iterated. Get your references. And when I say references, what does it mean? It's basically, it's like a reference letter. It's not necessarily a recommendation letter, but it is a letter that vouches your credibility. Who can potentially be some of the people who can write you a recommendation? You can have your teachers, professors, coaches, mentors. If you've done an internship, people from the management, have at least 3, minimum 3. And what is it? Please give them instructions when you are asking somebody to write a reference letter. Please tell them that I would request you to please write about my competency, my capability, how I did my job, what are some of the key qualities that I demonstrated. Please tell them. It should not be a love letter. Let's be very clear. Nobody gets hired because somebody is pretty looking, So the point here is, don't hesitate to tell your people from whom you're asking for references. Tell them specifically what you want them to write. No harm. And more importantly, if you have a LinkedIn account, ask them to leave a recommendation on LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, before you sleep tonight, and I am being very serious, before you sleep tonight, you better create a LinkedIn account. You must have a LinkedIn account. LinkedIn is important for visibility. It's important to, they say market yourself. So it's important to tell the world who we are and what we do. Nobody's going to do that for us. We all cannot have people who will, like organizations have marketing teams. We can't have marketing teams. We have to self-market ourselves, right? The third tip is, it's like I said, it is important to write down what you want to talk about. Remember logos and pathos. Pathos is being intentional about what you're saying, and logos is adding logic to what you're saying. So it's important that you write down in bullet points your talking points. One of the things I wanted to share, somebody had asked me when I was working in my previous organization, we were doing a hiring and a recruitment workshop. And this workshop was meant for managers to certify HR managers and other operational managers to conduct interviews. And one of them asked me that, Purabi, is it okay if the candidate has a pen and paper? Before I could answer, I asked the audience, what do you think? Is it okay? So I'll ask the audience here also. Is it okay? Give me a thumbs up if it is okay. And if you think it's not okay, write down no on the chat. Okay, I see one thumbs up. Okay, yes, it's absolutely fine. It is absolutely fine if you have a diary or a notepad and a pen and paper. It in fact reflects a stronger side of you as an interviewee, that you are mindful about making notes that you think are important. Another tip that I would like to give you, in your interviews, let's say if you are posed with a complex question, sometimes we need to arrange our thoughts before we answer. It should not be verbal diarrhea, yaar. It should not be like that. It's so, the other person goes like, oh my God, this person has absolutely, forget preparation, this person has no awareness. And unfortunately, sometimes for some of us who are very excited, we end up doing verbal diarrhea. The key here is, if you have a pen and paper, don't hesitate to say, may I just arrange my talking points before I answer? How amazing is that, no? I mean, how classy is that? Imagine the control you have. Even the interviewer will be impressed that not bad, this person is not in a hurry. So feel free to arrange your thoughts, write them in bullet points. It's absolutely fine. So to say in an interview, can you give me a few seconds to arrange my thoughts before I answer this question? And I'd like to write them down. That'll be appreciated. Let me tell you that, right? Another area is, now, we all live in a world where connectivity is not an issue today. We are, you must have heard 6 degrees of separation, which basically means that every person has a network of 6 people, and they have a network of 6 people, and they have a network of 6 people. So what I'm trying to say is that we can very easily connect with people today, not just through technology, but also through the concept of 6 degrees of connection. Despite the ease of communication, despite the ease of technology, despite the ease of metros, flights, trains, roadways, people still appear late. So the point here is, there are some very important hygiene items that you've got to be good at. I mean, these are zero tolerance. And let me also share with you, today you guys are taking this session and a coaching. Tomorrow when you guys will become professionals, you guys will coach other people. So make sure that you ensure certain hygiene about being prepared in terms of checking your availability when scheduling an interview, checking the other person's availability when planning an interview, asking about basics like, what is the expected dress code? Let's say if you are, let's say you get a call from a startup or a social media company, or let's say a marketing company, or let's say a pet store, right? It's no harm asking the dress code. I mean, if it is a social media company and they're all very relaxed attire, and if I turn up in a complete 3-piece suit, how awkward will that be, right? So it's not wrong wearing a t-shirt to work. What is wrong is wearing it in a place where a business tie and a blazer is expected, right? Ask about these things. HR manager ko pucho. Please ask them. Ask them, what is the schedule for the interview? How long will it take? What is it that I'm expected to have before I reach? Do I need to bring something? So basically, in short, I'm saying plan for what you are going to prepare. There is no point going to a war with a needle. You need a sword. So make sure your sword is sharp and it is there. Don't carry a needle with you. Another thing, like I said, technology fails. I'm sure you would have heard of something called the Murphy's Law. It says whatever that can happen will happen. So if you think that, oh God, in my interview, if I don't have internet connection, my demo is going to fall flat, I will not be able to show. trust me, your internet connection will fail, So what I'm trying to say is have a backup. Have at least 3 copies or 2 copies of your resume. I personally believe in this whole idea that when you have a resume, scatter it like a farmer scattering seeds. And when you get a business card, scatter it like a farmer scattering seeds. The more people know about you, the more you get an opportunity to showcase what you bring to the table. Don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. Remember, we are self-marketing, right? And of course, we also need to remember certain essentials like have contact details from the interviewer. Share those contact details with your next to kin. It's important that you share them with your family and your university, as in somebody who must be aware of where you are. I think that's important. In today's time, day and age, despite a lot of things being so convenient, sometimes communication gaps can happen. So ensure that you have interviewer contact details. Ensure if there is a godforsaken or unforeseen delay, inform them, please. A lot of times have happened in the instances where I've taken interviews in the past. Unfortunately, despite all the preparation and scheduling, we've received calls from candidates saying that I've had a personal exigency, there has been a demise in the family. You never know, anything bad can happen or anything good can happen as well. So it's okay, it's human. That doesn't mean that you're unprofessional, but it's important to ensure if you're professional, inform them well in advance so that they can reschedule it for you. Does this sound good? Are you liking it so far? Are you finding value? Great. So one thing I'd like to remember, one of the things that, sometimes can be a little too much is we tend to take it a little too anxiously. It's okay. It is just another day. Sleep early. Call it a night. A night before the interview, don't stay up late. Don't go out. You need to be rested. There is one quote that I read from a book. It said, rest before you get tired. Your energy matters. And then there is a commute, right? You have to get up early to get dressed, make sure, and please don't go empty stomach. Please eat something and go. Nothing is going to happen. Don't worry. Eat light, but eat something. And then, of course, what are some of the ways you can attack ethos, pathos, and logos? So these are some tips over here, which basically says that in your interview, you will be asked about your experience. You will be judged in the way you look, the way you speak, the way you ask questions, the way you are non-verbally communicating. So, it's important that your attire is correct. The moment somebody sees someone, let me give you an example to help you be more relatable. How many of us have traveled? I'm sure all of us do. Train, plane, buses, autos. Yeah. Now, let's say you are in a train station, metro station, or let's say in an airport. Fine. You're waiting for your, flight to start the boarding, or you're waiting for your train to get lined up on the station, and you're waiting there on the station or at the airport lounge. What do? You don't have a book. You don't have music to hear. You don't, unfortunately, the battery on your phone is too low for watching videos. What do? You look at people. And when you look at people, what are you thinking? Oh, that's a nice shirt she's wearing. Oh, these guys must be going on a vacation, no? These guys are definitely going to Goa. You can tell by the attire. Oh my God, this seems to be a huge family trip that's going together. My God, don't these people know how to dress up in an airport? All these various thoughts are circulating in your mind. What are you doing? How much do you know these people? They're complete strangers. So the point that I'm trying to make is human beings are made in such a way that we start passing judgments even when we don't even know them. So what I'm trying to say is when you are reaching the venue of your interview, whether it is in person or virtually on the screen of your computer, the first thing that they will notice about you is going to create a certain impression. It is true that first impressions are not the real impressions, but remember, first impressions can be the lasting ones if you don't pay attention. So dress appropriately, feel good about the interview. Somebody's giving you important time. Feel good about it. Be yourself, be authentic, be comfortable. Attire is a completely different topic, which I know Shrang is very interested in. So we will talk about that maybe at length some other time. But don't hesitate to explore what is business attire, right? And more importantly, attire also goes hand in hand with comfort. Don't wear something that is uncomfortable. Don't do that. That's going to take your attention completely. Again, talk about your experience. How relevant is your experience with the question that's being asked and the role that you're applying for? And don't hesitate to talk about your background. When I say background, it will include everything. It will include your family, your education, your parents, your institution, the college, school. If there are certain things that you want to talk about that touches upon these areas, be proud about sharing that. Be proud that I come from Loreto Convent, I come from HSBC. I'm talking about myself. So have that sense of pride. At the same time, specifically talk about what did you learn there? What expertise are you going to talk about that is relevant to this interview, right? Hindi mein bolte hain, top ban ke bolo. Be the boss when you're saying that, but don't be arrogant. Arrogance is something that gets sniffed out very quickly. Don't be arrogant, be humble. Same goes for pathos. Pathos is share your passion. The examples of responses that we saw a while back clearly were passion driven. People believed in what they were saying. So don't hesitate to show your enthusiasm. Use words like I'm enthusiastic about, I'm passionate about, it's very close to my heart, I thoroughly believe in, I firmly believe in. And more importantly, what you bring onto the table, nobody else will bring onto the table because your story is unique. So talk about specific stories and examples from your life, especially when you are talking in terms of, let's say, story format. I will give you a structure as to how to do that. A story should not be more than 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Nahi to audience will be like, haan, phir kya hua? Phir kya hua? Phir kya hua? That should not happen. That should not happen. Come to the point. Why are you telling the story? Like, for example, if I had just shown you the video and not talked about it and suddenly started, you all would have been thinking, why did she show that escalator video? What was the connection? That will keep happening in the listener's head. Don't do that. I will share the structure shortly. And more importantly, it is it's vital that when you are sharing these examples, you create that logical connection of how you are relevant to this particular role in this organization. So alignment with organization, with company and culture is very important. For example, like we saw in the response, the marketing, 40% increase in social media marketing, and how that experience is highly relevant to this role that the person is applying for because it's from the marketing department. That alignment has to be very clearly made. That connection has to be very clearly made. And then how do you logically bring this out is use clear evidence in terms of what you did, meaning fact. This is what I did. This is when I did it. This is who I did it with. These are some of the results. So is there a structure? The structure is called the STAR method. It's a very commonly used structure and it's a very sorted structure. Trust me. STAR, you can use STAR anywhere. Anytime where you want to make sure your message is structured and you want to convey it through an example or a story, there are 4 things you must have in your story. One is, what was the situation? Situation mein who, what, where, when, how, why. Okay, 4 wives and a husband. Second is situation tha. What was the task? Kar kya rahe the? What were you doing? Describe the task. Third is, what did you do? Action kya tha? What happened? Action. What happened? And then after all of this, what result did we get? After you did what you did, you added your value. What result did you get? So situation, task, action, result. Together comes the STAR. And more importantly, it's absolutely fine if you are doubtful at any part of your interview. Pause, immediately convey, I have a question, I have a doubt, and share it. Don't wait. Because if you wait, your mind is subconsciously still stuck with that doubt and you will not be able to pay attention to the right response that they're asking for. So far, so good. Okay. So guys, we're at the pretty last bit. And what I also wanted to leave you guys with is interviews should be conversational. Interviews essentially should make you feel comfortable. Unless you really don't get along with that person or you don't like that person, unless somebody makes someone feel uncomfortable, that's a different story. But they're not interrogations, make it conversational. And how do you do that? That's the last bit that I want to reflect. On the day of the interview, like I said, it's just another day, guys. So breathe easy. Please make the effort of making small talk. Small talk is basically where you are trying to have general conversation that is not specific to the main conversation or the main purpose of your meeting, but you're basically having a generic conversation. What to have a generic conversation on? These are some of the things you can talk about. So are you from Delhi? Are you, do you like, of course they have to be conversational. Suddenly jaake mat pucho, so do you travel? They'll be like, why this question? So the point here is figure out the situation and then ask. So you talk about work, school, you talk about, where are you from? Don't talk about the weather. It's such a broken record. So what's the weather like from the place that you're from? That is such a random question. But my point is, be comfortable. Like, for example, if you're meeting someone in your college who's new, what's the first thing you'll ask about? Hi, where are you from? Are you from here? What brings you here? Where were you before? Who all are there in your family? And be comfortable. Don't put on a show that I have to ask now, I have to ask where you're from. They will catch it, right? And even if we are nervous and even if we fumble, it's okay. Fumble, make a mess, collect yourself, and then start again. It's perfectly fine. Everybody knows that you're going to be applying for your job. It's an interview. If it's a first interview, even more. Show genuine interest when somebody is sharing something with you, whether during the interview or before the interview. If you're making small talk, ask questions. Really? How? What happened? So where did this happen? So when you ask such follow-up questions, it makes the listener feel good, number one. They start liking you, number two, and they know you're genuinely interested. Otherwise, they'll think you're wasting my time. It's important to also, when somebody's speaking for a long time, like for example, I'm speaking for a long time. As a listener, I will recommend you to look at them, make eye contact, stop what you're doing. Because a lot of times, people have this habit of writing and not looking at the person, or listening and not looking at the person. So what I'm trying to say is stop all those thoughts also in your head that, okay, she's going to ask me about my experience in my internship. This is what I'm going to say. Stop thinking. Just listen. One of the things that I used to share when I used to train in my previous organization, I used to tell people that don't impress. It doesn't work. Just express. Don't impress. It doesn't work. So just stop what you're doing. Look at the person. Give them non-verbal, acknowledgements. Shake your head. Give them verbal acknowledgements like, okay, then, and listen, because that's what's going to help them, help you win them, essentially. And by the way, this is not just for interviews. It's generally when you're talking to someone. These are some of the things that I will say are non-negotiable. Zero tolerance. You've got to arrive in time. Start early. Doesn't matter. You are making the effort. You're taking the pain because there is something towards, at the end of the tunnel. So make the effort. You jolly well make the effort. Keep your phone in silent, better still in airplane mode. These are important things, guys. I mean, these are non-negotiable. And in the current workforce, I can tell you, there are at least 3 different generations that are working together. We have Gen Zs, we have millennials, we may have some Gen Ys also. So the point here is these small things really matter. Don't chew gum. Chew your gum when you have reached the location of the interview. Make sure you spit it out, right? Don't wait for someone to introduce you. You should be eager and say, hi, my name is. Hi, step up is what I'm trying to say. Let your hand come forth. Have a good firm handshake. Be friendly. Have a smile. Nobody's penalizing you for coming for an interview. Look pleasant. Look relaxed. Don't slouch. Stomach in, chest out. Your shoulders should be out. Your chin should be parallel to the floor. If you don't feel good about yourself, why will the other person? Why will the organization, right? And be very alert. When I say alert, observe what is happening. Be attentive. Don't be lost. Okay, oh my God, what a nice office. Oh my God, kitna acha coffee machine hai. All of that will come later. First, pay attention to what you are going for. Be fully present. Make eye contact. People who are not genuine, people who are not, people who are not being earnest, they will never make eye contact. They will shy away. They will look somewhere else but not make eye contact. Make eye contact, Don't rush your answers. If your schedule is for 1 hour, you don't have to rush. And let me tell you, if your schedule is stretching beyond an hour, that's a good sign. Like, for example, it's 7:20. I'm guessing it's a good sign that our session is long. My point is, don't rush. Take your time. If you need to collect your thoughts, tell them, give me a few seconds before I answer this. Ask questions, something that I've been repeatedly saying, for clarity, right? And after the end of your interview, please ask them, is there a tentative timeline when I can hear from you? When can I expect your response? Tentatively, right? Don't be very excited. Okay, so when will I get the result? When will you tell me? Don't be like that. Be a little smart and politically correct and diplomatic about the way you ask. Ask them, so when can I get a response? Maybe a tentative timeline, right? And don't forget to shake hands with the interviewer. Thank them for their time. Thank them for the opportunity, right? So last but not the least, I just want to share, we are born as human beings. Looks is not in our hands. So I would personally drill it down. It's not important to be good looking. It's important to look good. So hold yourself well, carry yourself well, wear the appropriate clothes that you're expected to for an interview. Feel good about yourself. It's not just the clothes, it's the way you are feeling inside out as well. Be prepared. Carry a folder with you that has copies of your resume or anything that you want to give as an exhibit, or anything that you want to demo. Make sure your equipment is charged. Preparation, basically. Otherwise, it's not fun. It's not fun. I mean, there are interviewers who are thrilled to meet people who are so well prepared and controlled. And I would recommend, the resume is something that you give. Your CV is something that you give to start a conversation for shortlisting candidates. So don't read out of your resume. Don't give, answers that the resume already has. Not fun. They already have that information. Talk about how you did it. Talk about what was it like when you did it. Talk about your experience. Talk about how it made you feel, right? And last but not the least, like I've written over here, there is no, substitute for being genuine. If you are genuine, you will talk about your experiences. If you are genuine, you will give an example. So, and I think personally, as an interviewee and as an interviewer, of course, not an interviewee now, but as an interviewer, I look for that, and it immediately sparks this interest. It immediately makes me like the other person. And like I said, if somebody likes you, and chances are that they will say yes to you. So that's what I would like to leave you guys with. My last thing that I would say, it's okay to be nervous. Don't drink water during the interview. That one moment, please let me just, and then don't do that. Drink water before you get to the interview. Stay hydrated. So one thing that I want to leave you guys with is, this is like a cheat sheet. So these are some of the things that you will expect as questions and you will expect as occurrences in an interview. For example, commonly asked question, tell me something about yourself. Abhi kya bole? It's because this is a question that everybody will ask. So what should you say? I've given tips over here. Talk about your journey in terms of projects that you did, in terms of assignments that you did, any internship projects that you did. Talk about top 3 qualities that help you deliver these projects. Another question they will ask is, why should we hire you? Talk about why they should hire you because of these 3 qualities. And remember, one quality, one example. One quality, one example. The way I showed you the responses, those little examples, right? Ek quality mein ek hi example. Don't add 2-3 qualities in one example. And they all can be just 4 lines in total. 1 line for the quality, maybe 2 or 3 lines to explain what happened. And how will you say this? STAR method. Situation, task, action, result. Simple. You'll have to do hard work. You'll have to write your talking points, right? What are your greatest strengths? Now, you know what your strengths are. Let's be very clear. Maybe we don't talk about it. Write them down. And when you write it down, this is self-work. This is self-reflection. Like, for example, if I have to talk to you about 3 strengths that I have, I'd say, okay. Okay, so I'd say 3 things about myself is that I like to prepare. I do believe in preparation. It helps me feel safe. It helps me feel confident. I can tell you that I prepare for everything that I do. And I also appreciate getting coached on it, because coaching never stops, learning never stops. Second is I do know that I'm credible. I vouch for what I stand. I can prove in terms of my competence how I have reached where I have reached. There are experiences in my previous role, in my current role, that I can validate to say that I'm credible and seen as a go-to person. And third is I'm enthusiastic. There is absolutely no other way to say it. I'm excitable. I feel happy and passionate about what I'm doing, where I am at, which team I'm in, the people that I work with. I believe in that. And that's what makes me have that sense of enthusiasm. So the point here is you've got to create very clear, factual sentences or factual, evidence to validate your strength. And when you talk about your strength, say it with pride. Be gracious about saying that. Don't hesitate. When you say greatest weakness, what we essentially mean over here is, unfortunately, in a lot of interview lingo, a lot of interviewers still use, what are your weaknesses? Personally, it's not a very appropriate word. If I were the interviewer, I would ask, what are some of your opportunities? What are the areas of your opportunities? What are areas, or what are some of the challenges that you still feel? So essentially, it's just that. What are some of the areas that you still feel are challenging, right? If I have to answer this question to you guys, I would say attention to detail is a challenge for me, even now. And I'm still learning. I would say, something like, let's say, understanding the CXO level expectations and their work style is a challenge for me. The key here is when you are explaining the challenge, tell them specifically what is the difficulty you face. The mistake we make is why it is a challenge. What you need to keep in mind is, this is a challenge for me because this is the difficulty I face. And because of this difficulty, I'm not able to sometimes deliver the best. It's perfectly fine. And let me also share, a person who is very well aware of what they are not good at is a person who is very clearly done their self-reflection. That's a good sign, right? And that's why you're joining the workforce, to get coached, to get trained, to get feedback, right? And then you have other areas like, why do you want to work for us? This is where your research will come handy. Think about 3 facts that you will gain, that you will benefit from, that the company promises, like 3 things the company is known for. And against these 3 things that you found out, where did you find it from the website? And why do these 3 evidences matter to you? Why do these facts matter to you? Because they give you a potential benefit if you get hired. Tell them how you will benefit, and then close your answer by telling them that if you hire me, this is how I will also help you benefit. So the benefit part, so the structure here is fact, evidence, benefit. And the benefit should always be two-folds. Benefit for me, benefit for you, right? Again, you need to write these things down in order to be prepared. Then you have what is the hardest thing you've worked on. Same, we've covered this in the logos section. Talk about a certain incident where you had a task. What did you do? What was the challenge? How did you overcome the challenge? What actions did you take? What the result was? And then I'm going to just quickly go through this. One situation where you were a leader. And again, I did speak about making notes if you like. The water bit that I shared earlier. Drink water before your interview, not during your interview. Make sure you're hydrated. That's why breakfast is important. And stay calm. Stay calm. Psychology has proven that when people are angry, agitated, getting into an argument, they tend to utilize their physical energy more. You will notice people who are angry, agitated, argumentative, they are standing, they are using hands, they are standing, they're not sitting down. So the key is breathe. First and foremost, you need to breathe. Second of all, if you need, if something is, let's say, making you anxious, angry, take a moment. Tell them, can I get a couple of minutes? Can I just go to the restroom? Go, wash your face, drink a gulp of water, calm your energy, and then come back. But don't continue in that state of energy. Please don't do that. Doesn't help. Very important. We have one resume and we give that resume to everybody. What we need to do is, before you appear for the interview, review the application. As in, review the role. If you asked them for a job description beforehand, go through the job description, match the job description with your resume. That is what all HR managers do. They map the skills with the resume. You should do that too, proactively. If you do that, you'll be able to anticipate the questions that you will be asked. And if you anticipate the questions you'll be asked, you'll be better prepared, right? Then last few boxes, market yourself. I've spoken about this extensively. Dressing well, I've spoken about this extensively. Like I said even a while ago, it's just another day. So don't create that sense of pressure. It doesn't help. It's only going to, pull us down. And the last but not the least, practice makes it perfect, guys. If any one of you feel or think that I am a good speaker, me, Purabi, if I am a good facilitator, it's taken me 20 years to reach here. Rome wasn't built in a day. And the only way I was able to do this is by practicing. There is a beautiful book by Malcolm Gladwell. It's called Outliers. And it says that in order for anyone to earn the right to be called a professional, you need to put in 10,000 hours. I've put in more, I can say that now, but it has taken 22 years to get here. And I'm still flawed. I'm still learning because I know there are better people. And I can vouch that because I have coaches and leaders in the team that I work in who are much better and they're still willing to coach me. So learning never stops. Practice in front of the mirror. Practice. You have phones today. We didn't. Record yourself. Get in touch with your mentors. Coach them. Ask for feedback. What can I do better? And yeah, I guess it's in your hands to share the best version of yourself. So on that note, I'd like to leave you with a quote. This is from the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mr. Carnegie said that remember when dealing with human beings, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I want to look at every one of you. Yeah, he said, remember when dealing with human beings, you're dealing with creatures of emotion, not always logic. So make sure your EQ and your EI is high, and don't forget to have strong belief to market yourself. All the very best. I sincerely hope you all land a fabulous job. Thank you very much.